Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's great to be with all of you here. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana of Immigration for Couples. If you are new, if this is your first live event with our firm, welcome. We're excited to have you here. If you are watching this on the replay, if you weren't able to join us live, that's all right. We missed you, but please do a hashtag replay and let me know what are your questions so that way we can cover them at the next live event. All right. And so for those of you who are joining us, it's great. I see some familiar faces and names. It's great to have you back. I always like to start with where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And most importantly, how are you feeling? How are you doing? All right. I know the immigration process can be a little overwhelming and stressful. And so I always like to start with those questions if you're willing to share. All right. So, Ginger, great to see you. Good morning to you as well. And I know you're in the US with your fiance. So that's awesome. I hope you're having a fantastic time and you're enjoying being together. It's great to have you. Lisa, great to see you as well. Good to be back. Yes, good to be back. Same for me. I have been traveling quite a bit across the country representing clients at their interviews. And so I wasn't able to host the live last week, but it's good to be back. All right. So, Kathy, your boyfriend of 6 years is from France, and you're getting married next May. Congratulations! That's really exciting. I bet you're in the process of wedding planning and all of that good stuff. So it's great to have you with us. All right. And so for those of you who are just now joining, please let me know, where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And how are you doing? I'd like to go over a little bit about some free resources that we have. And then whatever questions you all have, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I am streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And so I answer the questions in the order that I receive them. But if you throw them in the comments, I will go through those questions here today. All right. So Jess, you're US and you're new to the process. You're in the perfect place. So we host this weekly live chat Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time to answer your questions and give you clarity as you're navigating the immigration process. And as I mentioned, I wanted to share with you some information about our free resources. So that's on the banner below, immigrationforcouples.com. Ria will also post that in the comments as well, so you have a direct link. Our resource center is very robust. We have free resources on how to prove your relationship. I do a webinar and I go over the different options that are available to couples. So if you're new to this process, that webinar is a great place to start. I really dive in, like I said, the options that are available, the process, what to be aware of, wait times, and all of that. So you can see that all in the free resource center. And then I also have a book that's, wrong side, that's behind me, Navigating Love and Immigration. And that heart graphic there is some of the couples that my team and I have had the pleasure of guiding on their immigration journey. And you can download a free chapter of that book on the free resource center as well. All right. Anna, great to have you. Good morning to you as well. You are in Nashville. Welcome. So glad to have you with us. All right. So keep those questions coming. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the questions that are coming in the queue. Okay. I'm not sure if I understand this question that I have here. It's a lot of abbreviation. So I want to see if I can decipher before I pull it up. Okay, I'm not. So it sounds like you're going through a fiance visa process and you have questions about documents, and if the US petitioner has a photocopy of their divorce decree, is that okay to send to the beneficiary to take to the interview, or must it be notarized? So for the fiance visa process and for the spouse visa and really any of the green card, marriage-based or fiance-based green card processes, you have to have original or certified documents for a lot of the required civil documents. So divorce decrees, that's one of them that a copy is not going to be acceptable. You have to have something that is original or certified. And the immigration will send you a list, and on the immigration website for the National Visa Center, for preparing for your interview, you should go through that whole list and make sure that you are in compliance with the requirements, because they'll send you an email prior to your interview reminding you, hey, these are the items you must bring, or we cannot review or finish our review or approve your case. So copies are not enough. That's a really big pitfall that I see individuals fall in with immigration, is not taking all of the required documents to the interview. So I'm glad you're asking that question. And then I know you do have a question here about specific questions on the form I-134 and how you should respond. I can't actually answer specific questions on how you should respond because I am not involved in your case on an intimate level to be able to see all of the details of your immigration history, of your financial information. So I have blinders, right, is what I say, and I can't tell you exactly what to answer because I don't have all of those details. So I want you to know I do see that question, and you're asking about whether or not you should list assets. In some cases, it is really important that you list assets because it will be dependent on your income. If your income level isn't enough, or you haven't held a job for long enough, or your tax return doesn't show enough income, then in some cases it is important. But I can't ever tell anyone on these lives exactly how to fill out forms. It wouldn't be fair to you because I'd be giving you, telling you how to fill out forms without knowing all of your details. So in general, there are times when you do have to fill out that asset information and those details if your income isn't enough. Okay. Because it does sound like you are aware of the poverty guidelines. And if you're above the poverty guidelines, then typically assets aren't required. But I can't say that conclusively without seeing your tax return. But hopefully that general information is clear and gives you some guidance. All right. All right. So this is great. You have some good news. Your K-1 visa was approved and issued out of Casablanca in just 10 months. Can you confirm what to expect upon arrival? And will the pre-interview medical exam still be valid for adjustment? So first of all, congratulations. That's really exciting news that you were able to receive that fiance visa and indefinitely and under a year. So that's fantastic. Congratulations. And you said customs. Yeah, I assumed that that's what you meant, upon arrival coming into the country. So there are certain documents that you will need to bring with you when you're entering the country. So your passport with the visa inside, depending on the country, sometimes there are other unique documents that you need to bring with you. Sometimes after the interview, they will give you an envelope that's sealed that says "do not open," that you have to surrender at customs when you enter. Immigration has moved largely to an electronic platform. So typically, you're not going to receive that packet anymore that says "do not open." But in some situations, we are seeing some individuals are still receiving that envelope, and if you do, it will say "do not open," and you have to give that to customs as well. We have seen customs in some situations asking individuals some questions about their relationship. It's important to understand when you're coming through customs, they're not adjudicating. They're not making a decision on your relationship, but in some cases they might, ask a few questions about, what is the visa that you're entering on and what are your plans? Why are you coming? And a few questions about that relationship. And as far as the medical exam, it will depend. So the medical exam that's completed as part of the fiancé visa process before the interview has a vaccination worksheet. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they cannot complete all of the vaccines. Sometimes the vaccines are a series of vaccines. Sometimes they don't have a certain vaccine available, and they'll put a notation on that worksheet that says, hey, you need to comply with these vaccination requirements. If that's the case, then oftentimes individuals will have to complete an abbreviated medical exam in the United States before the adjustment of status phase of the case. All right. So you'll just have to take a look at that and see were there any recommendations from that civil surgeon about any other vaccines that would require another abbreviated medical exam in the US. All right. All right. So you are wanting to know, you're a green card holder now, and you're wanting to be able to sponsor your wife and children. So yes, as a green card holder, there are certain family members for whom you can sponsor, including wife and your children. It will depend on, whether or not they are eligible. But in general, yes, as a green card holder, you're able to petition those family members. We do have in our free resource center a whole section of our website dedicated to family-based petitions, and there's information about petitioning as a green card holder for your wife and children. So yes, in general, green card holders can petition. The thing to be aware of, though, as a green card holder, you are going to have to wait in a longer line, or rather your spouse and children have to wait in a longer line to be able to complete that process. So as a US citizen, you are in a different category when you're petitioning your spouse. You have to wait for immigration to approve the case, which can take a while. But as a green card holder, you have an additional wait. You have to wait for a visa to become available. So for green card holders, the wait time can be longer, but it is possible. You can definitely petition. All right. So you wanted to know if it's okay to apply for a tourist visa now. You're from the Philippines. Tourist visas are available to individuals who are wanting to come to the United States for a visit. Tourist visas in general, historically, are difficult to obtain. Why? Because they are a discretionary benefit. So what does that mean? That means that an immigration officer has a lot of discretion. They have the ability to say yes or no without really giving a lot of reason. And the big reason that tourist visas are difficult to obtain, in addition to that discretion piece, is also that you have to prove that you are only coming to the United States for a short visit, for a short trip. So they're going to be looking at things like your age, even your gender. There are some guidelines for immigration officers that it says if it's a male between certain ages that tourist visas are not able to be issued, because they believe that there's a higher likelihood for those individuals to come to the United States on a tourist visa and remain. So that's immigration guidance. That's not my opinion, but just so you're aware. So your age, your gender, your current employment. So if you're a student, if you don't have employment that you have to come back to your country for, having property, having finances, or rather money and financial accounts. Those are all things that they're going to be looking at. And if they're not satisfied with your evidence and the information in your background, they can say, we are not going to give you the visa because we have concerns about you coming to the United States and remaining. And I'm not saying you particularly, but just those are the things that immigration is looking at. So tourist visas are possible, but they are difficult to obtain. Another piece is I'm not sure. I don't know if you're in a relationship with someone in the United States, if you are married or engaged or dating someone in the US, but it's really important, if so, that you're honest on your tourist visa application. And when you're honest about those things, if you have a relationship, for example, with someone in the United States, typically immigration does not want to give a tourist visa if you're in a relationship with someone in the US, because they will think, that is their position, that you are more likely to stay in the US and that you're not going to leave. And they will oftentimes, because I've seen individuals who have tried tourist visas on their own before we begin a process for the fiance or spouse visa, and then they come to me and we're meeting in a consultation, and they'll say, we tried a tourist visa a few times because we really wanted my fiance or girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever, to be able to come to the United States, and immigration denied it and said, we need to apply for a fiance or spouse visa. And so those are just some things to take into consideration if you're thinking about applying for a tourist visa. I know that's a lot of details and a lot of information, but I hope that that's helpful for you to understand what's involved in that tourist visa process and why it is a bit more difficult to get a tourist visa. Aw, Maria, it's good morning to you too. Greetings from Alaska with your fiance. That's wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying time together, and it's nice to see you here today. Okay, let's see if let's pull up Kathy's question here. So Kathy, you're wondering, what are the risks and chances of difficulties he'll encounter crossing the border after we marry, since we plan on continuing long distance, child and work issues, and he doesn't want to be stuck here while waiting for the visa, so we want to do consular processing. Okay, so you're married, you're doing the spouse visa or consular processing, and you're wanting to know, is it possible for your spouse to be able to continue visiting the United States on a tourist visa, I'm assuming, either a tourist visa or ESTA while that application is pending. So yes, the answer is yes, it is possible to be able to visit the United States with ESTA or a tourist visa while your application for a fiance or spouse visa is pending. And it's important to understand that every time you enter the United States on a tourist visa or ESTA or one of those not what they call not permanent or non-immigrant visas, where you're coming for a short trip, every time you enter, you're subject to that officer's review and discretion about whether or not they believe you are coming just for a short trip. So they will ask questions like they always do when you come for a visit. Why are you coming? How long are you coming? Where are you going to be staying? Who are you visiting? Always be honest with all of those questions. If having that application, if they ask, do you have a pending application? Of course, you need to be honest with immigration. And sometimes when customs agents hear that you have a pending application, a spouse or a fiance visa, they could have concerns about whether or not you are going to be staying in the United States. So yes, it's possible, and it's never guaranteed. Your entry to the United States is never guaranteed. And so it's very important to understand that. And then what we always recommend is that if you're visiting while your application is pending, that you have additional proof with you of your need to be able to leave the country, to that you are coming to the US, and that the pull factors is what I mean to say, that there's things that are pulling you outside of the US, obligations that you have to tend to that pull you out of the US, that shows that immigration, that customs agent, that you are just coming for a short trip. Hey, I need to go back to my country. I have this job. Hey, I have these family obligations. I'm not staying. I'm just taking a short trip. All right, Kathy. So thank you for the question. That's probably one of the most popular questions that I receive. So I have some videos on that too. And yeah, Ria, if you could find them, their travel on your let's see, how did I title them? I think it's travel on ESTA or tourist visa while your application is pending. It's something like that. They're on our website as well. But if Ria can kick that up, she can put that in the comments for you, just so you have that video to go back to as well. Oh, Ed, this is so wonderful. It has been a while since you've been able to join us. So it's lovely to see you back here. And you're finally done with your process and your baby, and you are now here in the US. So you're all together as a family. That makes my heart so happy. Congratulations. And I'm so glad you were able to join us today and share that happy news. I hope that inspires all of you who are just starting out or in the middle of your process. Eds has been joining us for quite a while and giving us updates. And I know you had some moments of feeling stressed or frustrated or really just desperate that you had shared with us. So it's wonderful to see that you've made it to the finish line. And thank you for sharing with us. Lisa knows we've all been cheering you on. So that's great. All right. Okay. And Kathy, should he tell them he's getting married next time he comes to get married? Answer the questions that you're asked. So pay very close attention. What is that immigration, the customs agent rather, what are they asking you? Answer those questions. Answer those questions confidently and honestly, but don't overshare, right? It's really important that you don't just come and just start giving them a whole bunch of information that they didn't even ask for, because that can be suspicious, that can cause confusion, that can prompt more questions. So he should definitely be honest. He should answer the questions confidently, and he should give information for the questions that he is asked. If they say, why are you coming here? And he needs to share his plans honestly. Who are you coming to visit? He needs to share that he's coming to see you. And what are your plans while you're here? He needs to be honest about that if asked. Okay. So I hope that helps answer your question. All right. Let me go back. I want to make sure I didn't skip anybody. Okay. All right. So good morning to you as well. So you're in Trinidad. How long does the immigration process take for a U.S. citizen parent filing for a married child over 21 years of age? So it's an adult child over 21. So there are immediate relatives and non-immediate relatives. So what do I mean by that? Immediate relatives are U.S. citizen spouse, parents, minor children. So children under the age of 21. Those individuals are immediate relatives, and they get to go through the process with the wait times of just USCIS, which they are long, yes. And for non-immediate relatives, so anyone else, so think spouses of lawful permanent residents, and children of lawful permanent residents, and then also adult children of U.S. citizens. Those are non-immediate relatives, and not only do they have to wait for USCIS wait times for immigration to process and review the case, they're also subject to what's called annual visa allotments. So there's a certain number of visas available every year for non-immediate relatives. There's no limit on visas for immediate relatives for U.S. citizens, except for U.S. citizen children over 21. So there's something called a National Visa Center Bulletin. I know this is a ton of information and I'm using a lot of legal jargon. We have something on our website too about the Visa Bulletin and all of these details. And actually, Ria, you could, if you could throw that in there, that would be nice as well. Let me tell you exactly where it's at on the website, because I think that resource is very helpful. It should be under the family petition practice area of our page. That's it. So Ria, if you want to share the link for the practice area, the family petition section of our website, all of this that I'm sharing with you is written out in a lot of detail that would be helpful for you to see there. So there's a National Visa Center Bulletin for non-immediate relatives, and they list out the different categories and show what is the current estimated wait time for an individual in that category. It's also broken down by country. So there's certain countries that if you're a US citizen petitioning for your adult children over 21, there's a longer wait. There's going to be a longer wait for individuals from Mexico, from China, from India, for example. And then there's an all other countries category. And so you can see on there an estimate of that wait time. It does take many years to be able to petition for an adult child, but at least hopefully these details give you some education and clarity on how to really look at that bulletin and get an idea of what that wait time would be. So, and then Ria put that in there so you can check that out as well. The wait time is longer, but it's definitely worth it. You just have to get the petition filed, and only then will you be in that line, right? All right, who is next? So Joshua, you and your wife have an interview with USCIS for your adjustment of status. Should you bring your W-2 and pay stub again? You already submitted that information with the I-864. So what we have our clients do, what we do for all of our clients that have an interview, is we give them a complete organized copy of the entire application that was submitted to immigration, and we have them take that to the interview. And when I accompany clients to their interviews, I bring the entire application that was filed. Yes, immigration should have that application. Yes, they should have copies of all of that. But your immigration file typically will be quite large. Some of it's digital. The officer will also have a paper file in front of them. Sometimes they haven't had a chance to go through that application. I was just at an interview, 2 different interviews last week in different states, and the officer asked for documents that we knew we'd already submitted, but I had that copy ready. I gave it to them, and the officer said, thanks, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to look at the file. I'm sure it's in there, but I'd rather have it handy and have an extra copy just in case. So that's a long answer to say, yes, bring a complete copy of your application, and also updated relationship evidence and everything else that's listed in that interview notice. So great question. All right, I hope that helps. And I see some hearts and some thumbs up. So it seems like today has been helpful for all of you. The combination of the information that's being shared and then all of the celebration. So if today has been helpful, if you're enjoying this session, if you give a thumbs up, a heart, anything that feels aligned for you, that way I know that you're getting a benefit from today's session. That would be great. All right, so let's see here. Jess, if a visa has expired, you're residing in the United States with a citizen, and a couple plans to get married, what steps can be taken to make the process as easy and likely for approval as possible? That's a really big and complex question, and I like it. So I'm actually doing an entire series on the social media, our social media platforms here at Immigration for Couples, of all the mistakes that couples should avoid in their immigration journey. And there's actually more than 40 videos that will be released in that series. So there's a lot of pitfalls. I don't tell you that to scare you, but I tell you that to help you understand that this is a great question and it's a complex answer. The first thing, the very, very first thing you need to do is to speak with an expert, with an immigration attorney that can evaluate and analyze your case, your relationship history, your immigration history, and give you advice on what is the best path for both of you. What is going to be the best option? What are the legal options that are available? And what does that path look like? From there, then you'll be able to make a more solid plan about the timing of filing the relationship evidence that will be needed. So, but the very first step I would say is just making sure you have a thorough review of that immigration history, of your relationship history, to give you advice on what is going to be the best option for your specific set of circumstances. It's not a one size fits all. Something else you could do is check out that webinar that's in our free resource center. In that video, I really talk about all the things that you need to know if you're just embarking on your immigration journey. What does the immigration process involve? There's 4 different options that are available. Not all couples are eligible for all 4 options. Usually you're eligible for 1 or 2 options. And then from there, you'll have to pick what is going to be the best path based on your goals. All right. So I hope that makes sense. But essentially, you really need an assessment of what are the options that are available to you? What are your goals? So then you can choose the best path and get started. And then also to make your approval more likely and to be as prepared as possible, once you've picked the appropriate path that you're legally eligible for, then ensuring you have solid evidence of your relationship would be the next step. It is your responsibility. It is what they say is your burden when you're going through an immigration process to prove you have a real relationship based on love. And in our free resource center, we also have a lot of resources about what are some of the pieces of relationship evidence that are going to be most important for you to collect. All right. And if after you've checked out those resources and done research, if you are needing customized legal advice and assistance, I'm happy to meet with you on a Zoom call. We can meet over Zoom or talk by phone about your particular case, and I can give you customized legal advice. But you can check out those free the free resources that Rhea posted in the comments. All right, Jess, I hope that helps. Okay. I'm going to do a few more questions here, and then I need to jet. It's been good to be with all of you. You all have such great questions. All right. Okay. So, Callie, yeah, it's great to have you back as well. So you're wanting to know about if you have a petition filed and then issues with if someone were detained. So yes, there's been a lot of policy changes and updates and announcements from this administration. And one of them was that immigration judges don't have the ability to assign or issue a bond. So a bond is what a person pays to be released from detention. The American Immigration Lawyers Association, my colleagues and I, we are fighting against these just absurd, unlawful, anti-immigrant policies. And having a bond, having the ability to pay to be able to be bonded out is something that an immigration judge legally needs to be able to do. So in certain circumstances, the bond will be higher, or in some circumstances, if there's a flight risk or any certain criminal activity and things that would make that person ineligible for a bond, an immigration judge is the one who gets to decide that. So there are individuals that have a pending spouse visa petition. They're married to a U.S. citizen, and then unfortunately they, happen to be in the wrong place, or they're detained by immigration, and an immigration judge is who would be able to decide should this person receive a bond and how much is the bond for them to get out. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are concerned, right, with this policy, myself included, that if an immigration judge can't set a bond, then that means people who are married to U.S. citizens and have U.S. citizen children and spouse and family could be stuck in a detention center in horrible conditions. And so some of the things that the American Immigration Lawyers Association and my colleagues have been doing is there are ways that you can, if a bond is not set, to be able to sue the government for individuals to still be released. So that's a long answer to say there have been those cases have been filed. There's been a lot of people who have still been released, and there's a lot of fighting against these policies. And so we do anticipate that we will see additional changes as it relates to bond. So I know your biggest concern is there going to be any options for my spouse to be released if they're detained? And the answer is yes, there will still be options. It's going to be much more of a fight, much more, many more obstacles to navigate through. But we're definitely, my colleagues and I, everybody at the American Immigration Lawyers Association, we're not giving up. So please don't lose hope. I hope that gives you some peace of mind. All right. Let's see. Who is next here? Callie, let's see. I did your question. Okay. So, and hi to you as well, Emmanuel. You have a conditional resident spouse visa. Is it possible to transfer to another embassy for the interview, considering I have another citizenship, but not my child who will have to attend the interview? So, So basically you're asking, can you transfer your case to another consular post? You have citizenship in another country, but not your child. You can ask. So individuals who have citizenship in more than one country, or if you have residency status in another country, or depending on where you're living, there exists the possibility to ask that U.S. embassy where you'd like to have the interview if they're willing to accept your case and interview you at that location. You would need to ask if they're willing to interview you because you do have a child that has a separate pending petition that needs an interview. Are they able to accept that case if only you have citizenship? Ultimately, you can ask, and ultimately it's up to that U.S. embassy or consulate if they're willing to accept both cases for an interview. So the answer is you can ask, and you can see if they're willing to accept it, but ultimately it's up to that embassy or consular post. So, all right. Okay, good. I'm glad that helped answer your question. All right, I'll do one more and then I do have to go. Okay. Your stepdaughter's adjustment of status application is pending and it's been 28 months. Is that normal? Yes, it can be normal. It depends on the specifics of the case. That's the big one. The specifics, the details, the specific facts of that case is number one. Two, it depends on the jurisdiction. Where was that case filed? When was it filed? The immigration officer that's assigned to the case. Yes, it definitely can be possible to have to wait quite a bit of time for an adjustment. Whether or not it's normal will depend on, like I said, those factors. If you have an immigration attorney, you should speak with him or her about whether or not this is normal for your particular case, given the facts and the location. You can always reach out to immigration as well. There's an outside of normal processing times tool. You can start there on that USCIS website with that tool. You'll put in your date and it will let you know, hey, is this the current wait time, or is this beyond the current average wait time? And if it's within the normal wait time estimate, then you won't be able to make an inquiry, and then you'll know, hey, that this case is just immigration says is taking longer right now. If your case is outside, if it's longer than the average posting processing time, then you can actually make an inquiry on the case. So that's a good place to start too. All right. So I know that there is still a lot of questions. Well, a few, I shouldn't say a lot. There's a few questions that I did not get to here today, but it's been great to be with all of you. I will be here again next week at Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you want to come back with your questions, we do start, like I said, at 11 a.m. If you want to come in at 11 and ask those questions right away, I can get to your questions next week. Otherwise, I do go through all of the questions, and I oftentimes that gives me the information that all of you are needing, so I can make videos and release those for all of you as well. You're very welcome. All right. It was great to be with all of you this week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Hang in there. I know the immigration journey is long, but you'll get to the finish line. Thanks to Eds for coming and sharing that positive news about his immigration journey, and for everybody who shared positive news here today, so you can see a light at the end of the tunnel. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good rest of your week. Bye.